me. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little nervous, as I always get whenever I have to stand up in front of people. But I've come a long way. My hands used to sweat, so it was good that I might be on a stand because I was afraid of getting electrocuted at the same time. So that was something I've overcome with every performance, every time I've had to stand up in front of people. So I thank you all for being patient with me as I get through the first couple minutes, and then we go through what we're doing. There was a lot packed into a little bit of my introduction here today because I've grown as a result of the sum of all my experiences through life, from when I was born to when I was a toddler to when I became an early childhood person to a teenager, or as I call them, half adults. So I start at half adults about 10 years old to when you get to be about 17. So all my children are half adults. I have a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old going on 16, and a 17-year-old. And they've been half adults since they were about 10. I consider them half adults because they are there to make decisions and start practicing decision making on their own. And that's what I've been working on since I was young. And all of you have been working on that since you were young. All of you have been working on making decisions about yourself, about what you want to do in life, since you were about 1.5 or 2 years old. You started a very zigzag pattern of life, and you started running around, your parents running after you. You think you knew the world, but you want to discover everything a part of the world around you. So that's what you are when you're a young person, and you start doing that all the way up until you're now. You're at the age of expectancy, you're at the age of making bigger and better decisions about your life and your future. And all of you are at a different level of nervousness or a different level of challenges that you don't know what to expect. And after you come to this point in your life, there's other people who are expecting the same of you. And how many of you know exactly what you plan on doing for the next 10 or 15 years? Raise your hand if you know exactly what you plan on doing every year. Okay, great. I've got 1, 2, 3, a couple over here. Anybody want to tell me what exactly they'll be doing for the next 10 years, every year for the next 10 years? Who's back here? Who's a little sure of themselves? Anybody want to shout it out? Oh, yes.
Film and animation.
Filming animation. Wow. That's an excellent choice. That's an excellent dream. So what do you propose you will be doing to get to that point, to actually achieve filming animation?
Well, for starters, I'm going to be practicing my craft for all 4 years of my college life. I'm definitely going to be using as many resources as possible. We'll reach out to different studios, else all Japan.
And have you written that down?
No, but I've been thinking a lot about it.
You can see it. Just as Stephanie Cologne was saying, you have to see your vision. Once you see it, you can manifest it. And that's what you're doing. All of you are you've got a little more of a focused or target-focused vision of what you want to do. But you start out with this broad vision of what you want to do. And then you learn to have to adapt and be flexible. So you've got a general plan, or I would call a macro effect plan, or macro look at what you want to do. But in that macro plan, you have micro steps that you have to take, right? To go through those in order to get to filming animation. There's probably jobs you'll have to take. There's probably people you'll have to talk to. There's connections you'll have to make. There's people you'll have to talk to that you don't want to talk to. There's things you'll have to do. There's decisions you'll have to make that will get you through those micro decision-making processes to get you to that macro dream that you've always wanted to do. Am I right? So all of you have a target focus, and then you have a macro focus. We start out with a macro focus. We start out with a general idea of what we want based on nature versus nurture, or exposure to certain things, or however we are brought up, or whatever we experience that's negative in our life. Well, I guess I can use this now. That's negative in our life or positive in our lives. And I'm going to share something with you that produced a certain innate desire in me to overcome the fear that I had. And most of us are driven by fear. If you ever notice something that comes up that's a negative feeling that you might have that might make you say no instead of yes, or yes instead of no. All of you have heard about the fight or flight remember, right? So you have those two emotions, and they're usually attached to fear. We make decisions out of fear of unknown or fear of what we think may happen. But none of us know when we have fear what could happen on the other side of that emotion. So when we're driven by fear, we're driven by making decisions only by fear, we tend to make decisions that take us away from those target goals, those dreams, those thoughts that would actually put us in a better position to achieve what we want to in life. All of you are here because you're looking for more. You're interested in more. You want to know more. You want to gain knowledge. You want to know how to deal with your future. You want to make great decisions that will lead you into better decisions. You want to be more than consumers. You want to be producers. You want to be educated. You want to educate others. And those are definitely decisions that require you to not be fearful. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
So I had to overcome the biggest fear of my life, which I was actually born with, and that was my name. I don't know if you caught it, but Stephanie told you that my name was Dorcas Crumbly. Now, for some of you all who might be biblical scholars, that might not be a big name to you. But for me, it was the worst name I could have possibly been named ever in life, right? So, my mom picked that name from a best friend up in the north, in Boston, Massachusetts, in the 70s. And then she moved down south and married my dad and had me in the 80s. And that was the biggest name back then, was the name Dork. You're such a Dorcas. And I'm thinking, actually I am. You're such a dork ass. You're a dork ass. You're a dork. You're the biggest dork ever. And then every time you hear that, you start to be fearful of hearing your own name, right? But my name was my identity. So you can imagine how that fear can grow into misguided fears, an interpretation of life itself, and what you're actually doing with your life. What type of decisions you make because of just not wanting to hear your name. Every day in school, fortunately I was homeschooled for 9 years, but my parents had us socially engaged because they were both pastors of a large church membership. So I had to deal with kids outside of the house anyways, right? So they were just as mean as kids that were in school that I was in church with. But I learned through that, I had to hear my name. I hear Dorcas all the time. Dorcas, 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 Dorcas. I wanted to go by D so badly. And for some innate reason, my parents did not want me to be named D. They didn't want me to go by a nickname. I'm like, are they trying to ruin me? You know, I couldn't take it. I didn't understand it. And I didn't want to own up to my name, which was in the Bible, which I learned was this woman who was a beautiful heart, beautiful spirit. She followed Jesus. She gave to others. She was a wealthy woman. And she died, and she was risen from the dead. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to own that. I don't want to die and have you be raised from the dead. Fast forward to after I graduated from high school, I come here. I literally run to the teacher on the first day of class and the professor and say, please don't call my name. Just call my last name. Call my name Laidler. It was Laidler at the time. Call my name Laidler. Don't call my name because I can't stand the sound of my name. And everybody looks at me and says, I'm sorry. When, you know, so that's your identity, right? So if people are apologizing to you about your name, your identity, your personal identity, what do you feel about yourself? Stephanie spoke to me when she stated, don't say the things about yourself or to yourself that you wouldn't say to other people, that you wouldn't say to people you care about. I had to learn to care about myself more than I cared about others. And I had to have my own identity in check so that I would be okay with being fearful and being vulnerable around others. So I'm being vulnerable around you now because I have found a better way to be vulnerable with myself, to be okay with myself. And I had to find that identity. So once, fast forward, I get my master's degree and I graduate and I'm in the pew of the big auditorium in Orlando. And I said, I'm gonna have to own my name because I'm starting a business, and I used that as a springboard to start our business because I wanted to work in the C-suite and I wanted to make lots of money helping other companies achieve what I'm achieving now in my own life. And so I sat there in the bench and I said, I'm gonna have to pick a name, either go with Dorcas or D, because I'm on a professional level and everybody's gonna have to call me one or the other. And I said, okay, Lord, help me figure this out, because I have had such a big issue with my personal identity. I can't take it anymore. And what I did was chose Dorcas. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna own Dorcas. And I felt like, you know what, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I'm gonna give myself an applause, because I just made the biggest decision of my life to go by my actual name that I was born with, that I've had to live for 34 years. So it took me 34 years, I'm 42. It took me 34 years to like myself, to like my name, and to be okay with who I was. Once I did that though, everybody else was okay with it. They were like, oh, you have the coolest name ever. Hi, what's your name? Dorcas. Wow, that is cool. And I'm thinking, it has never been cool before. My name has never been cool. And what I learned was, once you're okay with yourself, nobody can question your okayness with you. Everybody thinks you're cool. If you are cool to yourself, everybody thinks you're cool. Because you don't walk around with this negative cloud, this negative bubble of safety that says you aren't all of what you should be. You aren't what you can be. And if you all each remember that, if you remember nothing else from what I'm saying today, remember to first define yourself. First define yourself, because all of you are trying to figure out what your next moves are. But before you do that, define who you want to be. Define who you are. Like yourself. Pick those things out about what you don't like and say, well, am I going to own it, or am I going to get rid of it, or am I going to change it? In this day and age with technology, we can change almost everything about ourselves. Am I right? So you can either change it or live with it and own it. Once you get there, the sky's no limit. You can do anything you want to do. And that's all that the speaker before. You can do anything you want to do, but you first have to be okay with who you are. Because if you don't love yourself more than you love everybody else, including your significant other, your siblings, your best friends, your grandma, your grandpa, your godparent, whoever it is in your life. If you're not okay with yourself, that baggage takes over your relationships. You will never be fully okay with anyone else unless you're sure of yourself and you like who you are. Once I was okay with my name, it was like the world came off my shoulders. A burden came off my shoulders because I could get past the first thing, the icebreaker of life, which was saying my name to everybody. So I just want you to understand that that's the way you can adapt. That's the way you're going to be flexible. When trends come in life, when you become the people you want to be and you take over those companies you want to take over, you start your dream business or you do what you want to do, that all started from a first decision of knowing who you want to be and knowing who you are. And after that, it doesn't matter. So that's how I've grown up. That's how I've become to where I am now with our companies, with our family life. We love ourselves. My children know who they are. They love themselves. I want them to make decisions after they leave our house. So they had to start making them while they were living in our house. You have to train yourself now to make great decisions. You have to train your siblings, people who are around you who may be younger, people who you might be mentoring. Tell them to make the decisions. Nobody can really give advice. People can tell you what they think based on their decisions, based on their life experiences, but nobody has had your experiences in life, right? So you can take wisdom, and you can take advice, and you can take things from people that people say to you to help you along in life. But you have to eventually make that decision yourself, am I right? So whether it's negativity people are telling you, or positivity people are telling you, eventually you have to make that decision. So you can weigh all pros and cons. Like a macro leader, you can look from a 30,000-foot view, and you can listen to everyone. Always listen. Always be open to hearing what people are saying to you, but know that you have to make a decision based on the information you're getting around you. And that is how you adapt. That's how you change. That's how you can be okay with change. Because you can't be okay with change if you're not willing to hear all of your options. And all of you all have endless options, and you need to take advantage of that. I learned the more and more I was in business, the more and more I had been in business and talking to people, the more I realized I have endless options. The more people you meet, the more connections you make, the more relationships you flourish and nourish, the more options you have to make easier decisions about what you want to do in life. Because you're not cutting anyone off. Don't cut people off just because you don't like what they're doing. Don't cut people off because they might not seem where you are. You can learn something from everyone. Those above and those below. Those beside you and those everywhere around you. You can always learn from everyone you come in contact with. Whether it's what not to do or whether it's what to do. You can always learn. Keep an open mind, love yourself, and you can adapt to anything. You can change to anything. And you can overcome the world that way. Any questions? Anybody? You can ask me anything. I'm an open book. I don't really care what you ask me. You can literally ask me anything. I'm not afraid of any questions.
Tell us about your current business right now and how that dream started.
Okay, my current business is an event venue called Black Swan Venue. So you all know you live in the Swan City, and we like the swans, but we of course love the black swans because they're a black swan. They're a dime a dozen. So you can visit us on blackswanvenue.com, and you can rent out our venue for graduations, anything you've got coming up, and we're the only book at your budget venue. So that means that we work with your we work with your budget to book you at the amount of hours that you're looking to book at. Then we book weekly, daily, year-round. You can tour the facility as long as it's not occupied between the hours of 6 a.m. and 2 a.m. We're the only flexible, non-appointment tour venue as well. And we're located right downtown in Lakeland, right here in Lakeland, downtown, just about 7 minutes from here. And we just opened last March 2024. So that's our latest baby that falls under our company, Essential Catering Solutions, which you heard Stephanie speak about earlier. That was the company we first started, and that was begun in 2017, right after I graduated from grad school, and it was a full service catering company. We have since adapted, we have pivoted because COVID happened in there, and we were just starting enough, and we grew very fast. We were just getting started enough that COVID didn't ruin us, but it didn't help us either. So we just continued through and made some changes, and then we started a cafe in the Polk County Courthouse in Bartow. So if you ever have jury duty, as you become civil servants, you will visit us in the cafe, and you'll come to eat there. We serve breakfast and lunch, the best grits in town, and that's in the courthouse. And then we also have our catering kitchen is on the site of a residential facility, so it's a private kitchen. It's not a public facility, but that's where we do all of our catering, and we also can feed the residents service for breakfast and lunch every day. So that's a little quick snapshot. I don't like to spend too much time on the ins and outs. Any questions?
Do you attend undergrad here?
Yes, I did. I wasn't trying to go. I wanted to go to Florida State, go Noles, and go Mocs. I represent both. But my parents saw fit that I go here, and it ended up being wonderful that decision was made for me. They wanted me to be home and in town, which I was trying to get the first train or bus or plane out of here as soon as I graduated from high school. And then after I came here, and I graduated from here with a communications degree, after spending 3 years in bio pre-med, so I was in Sci over there for 3 years, and then I switched at the very end to marketing and communication. So that's how I ended up with that degree. But that ended up springboarding me into a really great local sort of interface with the world around me, because I wasn't trying to stay here in Lakeland, but this kind of kept me here. I didn't see myself starting a business here 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I've been in business 8 years now, and I didn't think that was going to be something I was going to do, and it just worked out. Some things just happen later on in life. I've seen a lot of deja vu moments. Now that I'm here, I've seen where when I was a child, when I was younger, I actually saw myself doing things like this. I saw myself actually working in the areas that I work every day, but I didn't know what that was going to look like. And it's really great because you all have, like I said, the endless options, and you can see yourself. You can see what you want to do now, but it might not be in the exact way that you might think it might happen. So keep your eyes and ears open, keep your minds open, because whatever you see today, it can happen. It just may be in a different form. You might not see it in the same exact area that you're of your choice. But any other questions?
And what was your master's degree?
My master's degree was in human resources management, as well as leadership, business leadership.